Merry meet and welcome to Soulful Sunday here at Ariel's Corner. This is Ariel Gatoga and we are streaming live on YouTube. I'm super happy to be here with you and I hope you are happy to be here as well. Moderating today for us are the lovely Honeypaw and the lovely Vanessa. Thank you so much. And thank you also to the other moderators that are on the stream. It looks like I see Dre and I see Jennifer, and if I've missed somebody, I apologize. But thank you so much, moderators. And let's see, we have some new videos that are coming out. So those of you that are in the Kabbalah course, you can go to your lesson page, and you'll see that there's some new links for different videos for Psalm 119. So each of the Hebrew letters of the Hebrew alphabet are the titles of the different stanzas of that psalm, because each stanza starts with a different letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So one of the path working techniques is to work psalm magic for the particular stanza of Psalm 119 that corresponds to the path that you're working. So anyway, I've done a separate video for each 22 of those stanzas as they relate to the path working of the tree of life, or the Hermetic tree, I should call it. So anyway, so if you are in that Kabbalah course, all of those videos are available to you. You can just click on them. Now, if you're not in the Kabbalah course, you can still listen to the videos, and those are going to be released one at a time over the next 22 days. And the first one, Tav, was released this morning. So I hope you enjoy those. It took me a long time. A lot longer than I thought it was going to take to do those. So they're done, and now I can get focused on some other things. Let's see. I'm hoping to start the next phase of the angel magic this Thursday. If I don't get it done in time, it'll be the following Thursday, but that is my next project. And I was hoping to be farther along on that, but I got waylaid with Psalm 119. So now that that's done, we can focus on the next thing. All right. If you go to our website, arielscorner.com, you will see links to all of those free courses. And we also have a bunch of free booklets as well. So have at it. We have links to all the different lectures, all the different guided meditations. There's a new meditation coming out probably tomorrow that we recorded on Witchy Wednesday last week. And all kinds of cool stuff. So enjoy. Let's see. We have a Discord server and a private Facebook group, and you can find links to all of those in the footer of any page on our website, arielscorner.com, along with all of our other social media links. So I hope that you join with us. We do have a chat thread open on this stream, so chat amongst yourselves, and we'll get going in just a moment. If you'd like to donate to this channel, you can do that by going to paypal.me/Ariel Gatoga, paypal.me/Ariel Gatoga. If you're on YouTube and you want to just make a donation, you can use a super sticker or super chat if you're live in the chat thread, or you can use a super thanks if you're on a restream. And also with the chat, make sure that you're being very aware that there are people here, and so be kind and everything, and no trauma dumping. So none of that. If you're having a bad day, that's not our problem. Okay, so you can take that somewhere else. If you start doing that kind of stuff, we just silence you, and then you won't be able to interact with us anymore. So I kind of get over that really fast. So none of that. Most of us don't do that. So please respect our space. All right, let's get going. If you're in a place that is safe and appropriate, please close your... let's start that again. If you're in a place that is safe and appropriate, please close your eyes and begin to take some nice, long, slow, deep, relaxing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, feel more light and peace entering your body and mind. With every exhale, allow yourself to let go of any tension in your body, along with anything in your mind that you do not want. Inhaling peace and exhaling as you let go. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. In the center of our circle, a bonfire blazes forth, lighting us and the grove with a sacred golden light. We recognize that this is the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it burns away easily and efficiently everything that's unlike itself, leaving us safe and serene. Into this space, we invoke the presence of our Creator. To many of us, our Creator reveals themselves to be a mother and father, a goddess and God. We also call upon our angels, our guides, our teachers. We ask that we be guided as we walk upon the way, becoming happier, healthier, more magical, more peaceful, and more loving people. Blessed be. Today, I would like to talk about the topic of detaching from toxic behavior. It's very important that we look at this from time to time, because as we are growing in wisdom and compassion, very, very frequently, we think that that means that we're supposed to be doormats, and that when people are exhibiting bad behavior around us, that it's loving for us to just put up with that. And it is important that we recognize that that's not love. It's neither loving to them, nor to ourselves, nor to the other people around us, when we don't allow ourselves to find a way to detach with that. And you can detach with love, because sometimes the most loving response in a situation is no. Anybody that's a parent knows that sometimes the most loving thing you can say to your child is no. Just because they want something doesn't mean that it's good for them. And in the same regard, when we're around people that are misbehaving or acting out or throwing around their toxic energy, it's not good for us. And it's also not good for them. So the most loving response to everybody in a situation is very frequently no. And often the best thing that we can do is to detach ourselves from that person, or definitely from the situation or from the behavior. Now, I've had people in my life who were very, very dangerous for me to be around. And it was just not a good fit. And it's not important to necessarily blame the other person, for their behavior. And we can take responsibility for our own part in it, definitely. But at the bottom line in my own life, I realize that there are certain people that I have to detach completely from, because it's not good for me. Definitely not good for me, no matter who's the most responsible. And so there are those rare instances in my life where I've had to have a complete no contact rule, because that was the most loving thing I could do for both of us. Is we don't talk in the physical world. We don't have physical proximity, at least not for now, and until further notice. And that's an extreme version of a detachment, but it's still a loving one. It's still loving. The idea that just because somebody else says that that's not loving doesn't make it true. Of course, the person that you're detaching from doesn't want you to detach from them. They don't want that, because they, on one hand, maybe they still love you and all of that, but on another hand, their toxic behavior is something that they're addicted to, and they enjoy what they get out of their interaction with you, even though it's not healthy. So, of course, they don't want that. Of course, the child doesn't want you to say no when they ask for more candy. Of course, the child doesn't react well when you say no, you have to go to bed. There are certain things that are good for you and good for them that it's up to you to be strong in. So Just because another person says, no, you have to keep me in your life, doesn't mean that it's true. And it doesn't mean that you're shutting them out of your heart. In fact, it's important that you don't shut them from your heart, that you recognize that the best thing sometimes to do is to say no. So to detach from somebody's toxic behavior, whether it's temporarily or whether it's completely, for long periods of time, when it's done out of love, is a healing gesture. And it's not, don't think of it as kind or unkind. Don't think of it as a way of condemning them or judging them. It's really about doing what's the most healthy thing in the moment, the most loving thing in the moment. And what's most important is emotional detachment from the harmful effects of other people's behavior. Emotional detachment from the harmful effects of other people's behavior. When you allow yourself to see situations more clearly and more realistically, you can understand what your most loving response will be. And that's another reason why it's important to have a relationship with your inner guide, because sometimes detaching isn't the best thing to do. Sometimes it's important for you to stay in there with that person because there's stuff that you guys have to work out. And so that's not what we're talking about here. But there are types of toxic behavior that there's no working it out. There's no working it out. If somebody is an active addict or alcoholic, they're drinking. If somebody's into rage, if somebody's violent, if somebody's spewing their toxic psychic energy everywhere that they go, that's when it gets really sometimes very challenging, is when it's a psychic thing. And as we get more in tune with the invisible part of our aspects of our existence, we realize that there's a huge toxic dumping ground that people do sometimes. And we just put up with it because we can't put our finger on it. We can't say, well, I can't have you in my life just because I don't feel good around you. It just, sometimes it does, we feel like we don't have the right to do that because there's nothing physical and tangible that we can say is the reason we need to detach. But as we get more in tune to our non-physical reality, there are sometimes very valid reasons for having a detachment from a person when they can't control their habits of dumping toxic waste all over you. Again, we're not condemning the person. They can't help themselves. Very frequently, they cannot help themselves. It's a disease on some level. And it's not like they get up one morning and say, I'm going to be toxic today. It's not that they can help themselves, but you can't help them either if you're allowing them to do that, if you're allowing them to abuse you. And it is a form of abuse. When people think that they're or have come from the point of view that they can act whatever way, however they want, and you're just going to have to put up with it. So accepting that other people's toxicity, their actions, and their vibrations are their responsibility. It's their responsibility. And when we wash our hands of taking responsibility for the vibrations and the behaviors of other people and give them the gift of their own consequences, we are actually being more loving to them than if we just become that doormat and let them do whatever they want. So when we learn to have a loving detachment with somebody, we have to then also look at ourselves. How are we having to let go of our own obsessions with their behavior? I wonder what they're doing. I wonder what they're thinking. I wonder if they ate. Did they go to bed? Did they go to work today? If somebody's in jail again, like, oh, do I have to go bail them out? Obsessing over making sure that they're okay. So we have to learn how to let go of those obsessions and let them have their own consequences, which can seem cruel if we're used to thinking of compassion as being a doormat. And they're used to us thinking of compassion as being their doormat. And so they will want to use those things against us. Well, you've done it before. You've always done it before. So when you start putting your foot down, you create those boundaries and you detach from them, they're possibly going to act out even more. And that's part of it. You have to let that happen and detach from that as well. And learning then how we can focus on our own happiness and our own equilibrium and our own healthiness, our own physical health, emotional health, mental and spiritual and psychic health. Prioritizing our own health over other people's behavior, that can seem very selfish to us because we've been taught incorrectly by the zeitgeist, by the demiurge, by our own ego mind, because the ego would rather we be involved in self-destructive behavior than be healthy. And so it's going to very, very quickly and easily condemn you for taking over your own life and to prioritize your own happiness and to prioritize your own health and well-being over letting other people, over other people's toxic behavior. Somehow we've convinced ourselves that, well, I'm a loving person, so I just have to put up with that. That's not true. That's backwards. That's upside down thinking. And when we take a stand, it's very frequent that both our own egos and theirs will respond. And we just have to be okay with that and stick to our own understanding of what love really is. And in some circumstances, love means detaching. The idea of detachment as a way of fostering dignity and self-respect is something that isn't discussed frequently enough. The idea that we could prioritize our own dignity and our own self-respect over the behavior of other people is seen as very selfish and self-oriented. And what it is loving and healthy. When you learn how to detach from other people's toxic behavior, you are telling yourself in the universe that you are not going to suffer due to other people's actions or reactions to you. You're making a very clear you are making a very clear decision and taking a stand and putting your foot down that you are no longer suffering due to other people's actions or reactions. You are no longer going to allow yourself to be abused or used under the guise of helping someone. You are no longer going to do things that others can do and should do for themselves. When you learn this, and you can detach, and you can do it in a loving way, you no longer are going to be as prone to your own neurotic behaviors, such as trying to control or manipulate other people. Because their toxic behavior, if you're putting up with it, is a two-way street. because then you get to control them. You get to manipulate them. You get to play games with them. So when you put a stop to that on your end of it, you keep your own side of the street clean, then you're doing something good for yourself and for them, even though they won't see it in the moment, usually, if they're used to you acting a certain way. You no longer are going to cover up for somebody else's mistakes, make excuses for other people's poor decisions when you do that. You're no longer going to try to prevent crises from happening that are the natural course of events through the law of cause and effect. If somebody doesn't go to work and they get fired, that's how it works. But you rushing in to kind of fix that or change that for them, no more. Not if you're learning how to say no. Not if you're learning how to put your foot down. Not if you're learning how to detach from their toxic behavior in a loving way. So when we can learn how to focus, when we can learn how to shift our focus to our personal well-being rather than trying to take care of other people, we are less prone to falling victim to this toxicity. And it's a self-oriented path, not a selfish one. It's a loving path. Because for one thing, when you can prioritize your own happiness and you can prioritize your own well-being, you are doing the proverbial putting your own oxygen mask on first, so you are in a position to be helpful to other people. That's one thing. And another thing, so many people, and you may not believe this, depending on who you are and what your circumstances are, but it's true, I guarantee you, so many people are looking to you as an example for behavior. They will model their behavior, at least on some level, whether it's subliminal or not, on what you do. And if you are showing an example of prioritizing your own personal well-being over allowing somebody else to abuse you, even on a subtle level, you are helping people in a way that they'll never be helped by reading a book, because they're seeing that behavior modeled. And they can see how positive that is. They can feel how positive that is, how healthy that is, and they'll want to do it themselves. So when you allow people to face their own consequences and removing yourself from it, that's huge. It can be challenging. Especially if it's somebody in your life that you're related to, maybe by blood or by marriage, and you think, well, it's my responsibility to make sure that they're okay. That's not the way that you make sure that they're okay. You make sure that they're okay by giving them back their power to make their own mistakes and have to clean up their own mistakes. And sometimes it's appropriate to help people clean up their mistakes, but frequently it's not. Frequently, it's more loving to just detach, pull back, and let them figure it out. Some of the most important lessons I've learned and amazing growth that I've experienced has occurred when nobody was there to help me. And I had to figure it out. I had to figure it out all by myself. That's when I learned how to get in touch with my inner guide. That's when I learned how to grow up and have some accountability for my own actions. But had I had somebody rushing in and fixing and cleaning up all my mistakes for me, who knows how long it would have taken me to get to that point. So in retrospect, I'm very grateful to anybody who said no to helping me when I was going through what I had to go through. And now I'm going to return the favor by not allowing anybody to abuse me, by not allowing anybody to lean on me in ways that are not appropriate. Now, that's not to say that we're not there to help people when they're in trouble. That's not to say that we're not there to help our neighbor or our friends or our family when they are in trouble. I'm talking about those toxic individuals who manipulate us, who are nefarious, who are obviously in some sort of diseased mind that want to do nothing more than to cause chaos and to indulge in their unhealthy behavior because they know that they have an ally in us that will clean up for them. Or when those people that like to spray their negativity all over us and abuse us and take us for granted. And you know the litany of things that can happen when those kinds of toxic people are allowed to run amok and nobody says no to them. Well, you can't wait for other people to do it. You have to do it. And sometimes it's just a matter of starting with the one complete sentence. No. No is a complete sentence. And that is a wonderful lesson from the card in the tarot called the Hanged Man. Your sacred power of no, you put your foot down and you flip things right side up. Because if you're putting up with toxic behavior, you're looking at the world upside down. And you're just hanging by a foot, just like that hanged man. Instead of doing that, we ask for help. We ask for guidance from our inner guide. And we ask that we see things right side up and we realize that we're not hanging. We're not hanging. We're putting up with. We are involved in their behavior, their disease, whatever it is. And we can put our foot down and say, we're not playing this anymore. We are getting better first. And if we can get better first, it's going to be a lot easier for them to get better if they decide to do that. And if not, they will go on their merry way and find somebody else that's going to play their game with them. But it's not going to be you, because you've learned that it's up to you to prioritize your own health, your own happiness, your own well-being over theirs. Because that is all you can be responsible for in the ultimate scheme of things. Because you trying to help them, not only is it destroying you, but it's not doing them any good. It's just playing into their disease. It's just playing into their own game, their own unhealthy game. So it's up to us to recognize that when it happens and to be courageous and to call upon that inner power and learn that we can say no and we can mean no when we say no, and that we don't have to put up with it. And we don't have to be involved in it. And if it comes down to it, on very extreme cases, we cannot have anything more to do with that person if it comes to that. And that's still the most loving response than putting up with and being abused by them. And that's our power. So it's important that we use that power when necessary. Not to assume that just everybody that's in need is being toxic. That's not what we're talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Those particular individuals whose lives are chaotic and they want to ruin yours as a part of their own chaotic patterns. You're not going to put up with that anymore. You've got the power to say no, and you can use it. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Until next time, blessed be. All right, let's see if we have any questions. I was not going to talk about that today, but it came up in so many different ways that I thought maybe we could talk about it. Okay. I think we don't have any questions. Oh, wait, I'm in the wrong chat thread. Wait a minute. My job pays well, good benefits, and good hours. I'm finding the job itself no longer resonates. I will be able to quit in 4 months. How can I find fulfillment for the remainder of the time? Well, what I do is if I'm in a situation where it's obvious that I have to be there for a while and there's nothing I can do about that, I have to take everything one day at a time, one moment at a time, one breath at a time, and call upon my inner guide and say, well, obviously I'm here for a reason. Obviously, the universe sent me here. If I wasn't supposed to be here, I'd be somewhere else, because I'm open and willing to be where it's the best place for me to be. So then, understanding that, I can say, well, it's not me being in a job for 4 months. That's not what this is. It's me being here as a divine emissary in whatever situation happens to be there. And whatever is in front of me is why I'm there. I'm there to be a healing force if I decide to be. It's up to me whether I'm going to be a healing force or whether I'm going to bypass that opportunity. So I just assume that whatever's in front of me, I've been sent there to be the force for healing. And so what I do then is don't assume that I know what that means, is I ask within the moment, how do I respond to this? Why am I here? How do I respond to this? And for instance, I used to be I was a food server for many, many, many years, but I was a food server in this one restaurant that was not paying well, and it was kind of not a great environment for me, but it was similar to what you're talking about. I knew I had another job starting, and rather than going and finding another job, I'm going to put up with this for now because it's money, and I need the money, and I know that this is not forever. And so what I did is instead of thinking, well, I've got, what I'm here to do is serve food. I'm here to take orders. I'm here to, do that. I changed my perspective, and I said, I'm not here, I'm in disguise as a food server, but I'm here to be a force for healing, a channel for the healing force of the universe to come through. And so no matter what I was doing in that job, whether it was taking an order, delivering food, bussing tables, whatever I happened to be doing, I recognized that I'm here to give love and to provide love. And you know what was funny about that is the last few, I don't think it was months, but it was the last few weeks that I was on that job, when I was thinking of it that way, my tips went so high. And people were just, so much easier to work with. The job kind of changed for me. And by the time I left there, it was a much nicer job than the one that I couldn't wait to leave. I mean, it still wasn't everything I wanted, but because I just changed my perspective, and I didn't think of it as a food server job anymore. I thought of it as, I'm here to be the channel for healing in the universe, and to ask it and for the divine guidance at each table or each encounter. Boy, it really changed my vibration. And like I said, my tips went way up. So you may want to consider that. Okay, well, thank you for the great question. Thank you to all of the amazing moderators. And today we had Vanessa and Honeypaw, plus we had some other wonderful moderators on here. It looks like we had Jennifer, and we had Dre. So thank you so much. And we'll be back on Wednesday for more streams. So until next time, blessed be.